शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Namaskaram. Welcome to the 53rd session of Narayaneeyam, continuing on Sri Rama Caritam as described in Dasakam 35 by Narayana Bhattadri. A great part of the last session was dedicated to Hanuman or Hanuman. From his birth, an unparalleled power conferred on him by all gods, including Brahma, Shiva, and Mahavishnu, and the greatness attributed to him in epics and Puranas, until the point of Rama and Lakshmana meeting him first. While there may not be any official quote from any literature in so many words saying this, I am tempted to make this observation. Hanuman as the devoted divine figure and Ravana as the primary antagonist are pivotal characters of the greatest epic, Rãmãyana, without whose presence the epic would not have turned out to be the exemplary epic in human history. We will continue today where we left off in session 52. The devotees are encouraged to listen to part 3 and part 4 of this Rama Caritam in the Rãmãyana-saptãham or Rãmãyana-saptãham series through YouTube to recap the continuity and bring themselves up to speed before this session. This session will highlight how Hanuman cements the relationship of Sugriva with Sri Rama Lakshmana. Nita Sugriva Maitrim Tadanu Hanumata Dunduve Kayamuchaihi Chipvanguttena Bhuyo Luluvita Yugavat Patrina Saptasane. Nita Sugriva Maitrim Tadanu Hanumata Dunduve Kayamuchaihi Chipvanguttena Bhuyo Luluvita Yugavat Patrina Saptasan Atva Sugriva Dhyagotyatam Atula Balo Balino Vyajavritya Varshavelam Anaishi Viragataralitaha Tvam Matanga Shamante Viragataralitatvam Matanga Shamante. Nita Sugriva Maitrim Tadanu Hanumata Dundubehe Kayamuchaihi Chiptwangushtena Bhuyo Luluvita Yugapati Patrina Saptasalan Hatva Sugriva Dhyathodyatam Athula Balam Balinam Vyajavritya Varshavelam Aneshihi Viragatarlitaha Tvam Matangashramante. O Bhagavane, you along with Lakshmana were led by Hanuman to form an alliance with Sugriva with Agni, the fire god, as witness. The mutual agreement was that Sugriva would search for and locate Sita, and that you, O Rama, would kill Vali and make Sugriva the king of Vanaras. Who was Vali? Vali is shown all over the Puranas to be a son of Viraja, who was the daughter of Ruksha, the river goddess from Riksha mountain, or the holy mountain Kula Parvata in Bharata, according to the Varaha Purana, chapter 85. Vali was born to Viraja through Indra or Mahendra. But according to the Viraja Kshetra Mahatmya, Viraja appeared during a yajna or sacrifice performed by the creator Brahma, often considered an avatar of Adi Parashakti. Viraja was born from the forehead of Parvati as a Manasa Putri and presiding deity of Jaipur even today. Vali was the crowned king of Kishkinda and in the beginning ruled well with his brother Sugriva. He was so powerful that he crossed the oceans, vanquished Ravana at Pushkara, and consented to Ravana's request to become his ally. Vali also performed Vedic yajnas. He was highly learned in the Vedic lore. Vali was applauded by Narada. And we all know that after all that, he finally had to have moksham at the hands of Rama, and thereby he created situations where Rama will have to put him down. Coming back to Sugriva, despite all that has been spoken of Rama, the greatest of warriors, Sugriva, as usual, maybe also due to his sufferings and also by nature, had a lurking doubt in your strength, O great Rama, for your power and abilities to kill Vali of extraordinary prowess. He doubted you. In order to remove this doubt from Sugriva's mind, you flung away the dead body of demon Dundubi with your big toe to a distance of 10 yojanas. This demon had been killed by Vali long ago, and the dead body was lying on the Rishimukha mountain near Hampi, Karnataka of today. But this act of yours could not remove Sugriva's doubt completely, as Dundubi's body, however big it was, had already been reduced to a skeleton by then, and Sugriva felt and even observed that Dundubi's body had become much lighter to be blown away, and it was not a big feat at all. With a desire to know your real skill in archery, O Rama, Sugriva asked you to cut asunder with one arrow at least one of the 7 huge sala trees in Kishkinda, called Maramaram, which is also in the botanical name is Soneraceae trees or people trees, commonly also known as holy fig tree or religiosa ficus. They are often seen as huge and wide in trunk when fully grown, on which Sugriva had seen Vali test his strength playfully. Grasping your formidable bow, the Kodanda, Rama, you shot just one arrow at the first of the Sala trees. That arrow, which zoomed faster than even the speed of the mind, pierced through all of the 7 Sala trees, entered the earth, emerged out again, and lodged itself back onto your quiver. Company is astonished at the great valor and exquisite archery of Bhagavan Rama. ஊழி பேரினும் பேர்வில அருங்குல கிரிகள் 7 ஆண்டு சென்று ஒழிவழி நின்றன. Even if the great deluge should shift the world, it is as if the 7 unshakable, noble mountain peaks traverse the ages to converge and stand firm as one. பிரளயம் வந்தாலும் அழியாமல் நிற்கும் மேரு மலைகளைப் போல 7 மரங்கள் இருந்தனவாம். ஆனால் அந்த 7 மரங்களை நோக்கி 7 என்று சொல்லி ராமன் பாணத்தை செலுத்தினான் என்கிறார் கம்ப சக்கரவர்த்தி. அந்த 7 என்ற ராமனின் வார்த்தையை கேட்டதும் 7 மலை, 7 கடல், 7 உலகம், 7 துவீபம், 7 நதி என்று 7 என்ற எண்ணிக்கை கொண்ட அனைத்துமே நடுங்கினவாம், அஞ்சினவாம். As soon as the word 7 was pronounced by Sri Rama, the whole prapancham shivered. 7 mountain ranges, 7 seas, 7 lokas, including the Mother Earth, 7 islands, 7 holy rivers, and everything which had a prefix of 7 before them shook and shivered. With a single arrow dahanam, Sri Rama pierced those century-old Mara trees, and it came in nanosecond back to the special quiver of Rama to lodge back onto the quiver. எழுமராமாமரம் உருவி எழுமராமாமரம் உருவி கீழ்முலகமென்றிசைக்கோ ஏழும் உலகமென்றிசைக்குமேழும் உடுப்புக்கு உருவி பின் உடல் அடுத்து என்ற எழிலாமையாக மீண்டது அவ்விராகவன் பகழி ஏழுமராமாமரம் உருவி கீழ்உலகமென்றிசைக்கும் ஏழும் கூடுபுக்குருவி பின்னுடன் அடுத்து என்ற ஏழிலாமையால் மீண்டது எவ்விராகவன் பகழி. ஏழுமரா மாமரம் உருவி கீழ் உலகம் என்று இசைக்கும் ஏழும் ஊடுபுக்கு உருவி பெண்ணுடன் அடுத்து இயன்ற ஏழு இலாமையால் மீண்டது அவ்விராகவன் பகழி. Piercing through the 7 massive sal trees, it sped onward, boring through the 7 underworlds. Then, finding no other things with the 7 left in its path to penetrate, that arrow of Raghava finally returned to him. இனிமேல் 7 என்று சொல்லக்கூடிய எந்த பொருளும் இல்லை என்பதால் மீண்டும் ராமனது அம்புரா தூணியில் அந்த பானம் வந்து சேர்ந்தது. As I mentioned previously, the arrows of Rama were gifted by sage Agastya, and anything that was sent out from the quiver, those arrows especially, with that power came back to the magical quiver all the time, and they were never wasted. Needless to say, the great Sugriva was astounded at this and was fully convinced of your great strength. After this, with your backing, Sugriva got ready for a fight with Vali. The fight became very fierce, and it reached a stage when Vali was about to kill Sugriva. At that time, O Rama, you hiding from Vali's sight, ended up killing him by shooting an arrow engraved with your name, Rama Bhanam. There are many people who argue that the Lord's killing of Vali, hiding himself from his sight, and that too when he was engaged in a fight with another, was a highly unrighteous act. A brief discussion on this becomes unavoidable here. While punishing the guilty, the most important things to be looked into are the gravity, time, and place of the crime. In Treta Yuga, in which Rãmãyanam took place, even a small slip from righteousness was considered one of the greatest sins. What crime did Vali perpetrate to deserve this extreme punishment for a crime of this nature? Instead of treating Ruma, the first wife of his younger brother Sugriva, as his own daughter-in-law, Vali had forcibly taken her to become his wife against her very wishes. And even when Sugriva was alive, this abduction happened. Code of conduct for Vanaras do not permit such an action by anyone. In the treatise dealing with righteousness, Yajnavalkya Smriti, this is considered tantamount to violation of Acharya's bed, and for this crime, capital punishment is recommended. Besides, Vali had enhanced his sins by joining hands with the criminal Ravana. Those who do not atone their sins will be purified by the punishment meted out by the king himself. Therefore, following the duty of a king, killing of Vali by the prince Rama was argued a righteous act, as indicated by the points given in the Smritis. What does the Smriti say about punishment? This is again how Yajnavalkya Smriti says it. Pituswasaram matuscha matularni swasamapi matuhu sapatnihi acharya tanayam tata acharya patnim swasutam gachamstu guru talpakaha lingam chitva vadastatra sakamayaha striyamapihi. The same punishment is accorded by Narada Smriti as well. Adandayan Dandayan Raja Dandayamse Evapi Adandayan Ayasaha Prapnute Loke Nirayam Chadi Gachati. This is Dharmasastra or Manusmriti. A king who punishes the innocent and refrains from punishing the guilty attains infamy in the country and thereby goes to hell. I go back in the memory lane. Some 63 years ago, while I used to be debating while as a college student, representing my college in intervarsity meets on Ramayana. When the mantle of arguing against Rama's actions fell on my shoulders, those tasks are purely arbitrarily assigned. I was prepared until I reached the podium to argue in favor of Rama with quotes from Dharmasastra and Yajnavalkya, etc., but ended up at the other end of the stick. Ironically, I ended up with the first prize, arguing that Rama should have thought about seriously before taking any such drastic action, especially hiding and killing Vali. He should have thought many times before taking any such action of shooting from behind a tree. Knowing that such action could be seriously debated as a blemish for yugas and yugas to follow thereafter, since he is known as Maryada Purushottama, ideal man of highest moral codes, ethics and righteousness. Goswami Tulasi also struggled, but his great Ramcharitamanas came to my help somewhat. My struggles probably convinced the judges, thus swaying towards my side. Tara, daughter of the Vanara Vaidya, Sushena in the Ramayana, but described in later Puranas as an Apsara or celestial nymph, who rises from the churning of the Milky Ocean, marries the valorous and righteous Vali and bears him a son named Angada. After Vali was presumed dead in a battle with a demon, his brother Sugriva becomes king and formally marries Tara with her consent and as permitted by the Dharma for Vanara kings. However, when Vali returns, Vali not only takes back Tara forcibly from Sugriva, his younger brother, but also Sugriva's first wife Rãma, and exiles his brother Sugriva, punishing him for treason and treachery, although none of the charges were justified under any dharma. Modern dictators and narcissists seem to follow Vali, Ravana and such others while taking revenge against their political and other enemies. Having lost everything overnight, Sugriva was living in exile in caves with his lieutenants and a small army of soldiers in hiding. But suddenly, after several years, challenges Vali to a duel. The brilliant queen Tara then wisely advises Vali not to accept the challenge because of her knowledge of Sugriva's alliance with Rama and her own realization that Rama was nothing but an avatar of Bhagavan Mahavishnu. But Vali, in his ego, ignores her advice and dies from Rama's arrow, shot at the behest of Sugriva. The Ramayana and its later adaptations emphasize Tara's lamentation as the widow of Vali. After all, she was taken over in the interim by Sugriva in the first place. Unless one were to look at the intricacies closely with the Shastra-based interpretations, it may look confusing. While there is no such mention in Valmiki's Ramayana, Tara reportedly casts a curse on Rama by the power of her chastity. This is shown in the Bengali version, Kritivasi Ramayana. Rama enlightens Tara with Nyayopadesham as a counter to her curse. Let us see what Tulsidas says about the whole episode in just 4 chaupai. As I said earlier, the killing of Vali is one of the most debated episodes in the Ramayana. While Valmiki presents it with somewhat of moral ambiguity, Goswami Tulsidas, writing with a deep lens of bhakti or devotion, reconciles Rama's action by shifting the focus from legalistic warfare to divine grace and the internal transformation of the characters, including Vali himself. In the Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas uses several key arguments to address the controversy. Here are the specific verses where Rama justifies his actions. Vali eventually reconciles with his fate. Each of the four verses highlight one significant lesson. The moral justification. When Vali questions why Rama killed him like a hunter from behind, despite him having done Rama personally no harm, Rama replies with this famous chaupai. Anuja bhadu bhagini sutanari sunu sadakanya samaye jari inagi kudrushti vilokai joi tahi bhade kachupa banahoi. Anuja bhadu bhagini sutanari sunu sadakanya samaye jari inagi kudrushti vilokai joi tahi bhade kachupa banahoi. Anujabadu Bagini Sutanari Sunsata Kanya Samaye Chari Inehi Kudrishti Bilokai Joi Tahi Bade Kachu Papana Hoi. The younger brother's wife, a sister, a daughter-in-law, and one's own daughter, these four, O fool, are all equal. He who looks upon them with an evil eye can be killed with no sin attached to one who does such an act. Vali then asks, why resort to hidden attack? Rama then responds that Vali's arrogance and strength had made him blind to dharma, and thus standard warrior codes did not apply to him at all in the same way that they would have applied to a righteous foe. Mood to hi atisaya abhimana Nari sikavan karasin kana Mama bhujabala ashrita kapisa Gadamate himara chakasi kudisa Murtuhi atisaya abhimana Nari sikavan karasin kana Mama bhujabala ashrita kapisa Gadamate himara chakasi kudisa Mudatuhi atisaya abhimana narisika avana karasina khana mama bujabala ashrita kapisa adamatehi mara chakasi kudisa. Dalad, you were possessed of excessive pride and did not heed your wife's Tara's advice. You sought to kill Sugriva, who had taken refuge unto me in the strength of my arm. At this point, spiritual realization dawns on Vali. He realizes who is standing in front of him. Tulsidas reconciles the act through Vali's sudden internal shift. Once Vali looks into Rama's eyes, his anger vanishes. He recognizes Rama as the ultimate divine Brahman and says, Janama Janama Muni Jatanu Karagi Antarama Kahi Avatanayi Mamalochana Gochara Suyava Bahuriki Prabhu Asa Avasarapava Janama Janama Muni Jatanu Karagi Antarama Kahi Avatanayi Mamalochana Gochara Suyava Bahuriki Prabhu Asa Avasarapava Bahuriki Prabhu Asa Avasarapava Janama Janama Muni Jatanu Karahi Antarama Kahi Avatanahi Mama Lochana Gochara Soi Ava Bahuriki Prabhu Asa Avasara Pava. Sages strive for birth after birth, yet at the moment of death, the name Rama does not come to their lips. That very Lord has come before my eyes. O Lord, will I ever get such an opportunity again? I am ready to go. The ultimate surrender or Sharanagati by Vali happens as per Tulsi this way. Tulsi says that Rama at this point offers to restore Vali's body and life. Achalakaro tanur rakahu prana. Take back your life, take back your body. If you desire that, I am ready to give it. This is what Rama says. But Vali politely refuses. Rama, water has gone down the bridge. I have to choose spiritual liberation at this momentous hour. I choose it over my physical life. Vali then concludes with a prayer, this time for his son Angada. Abnat kari karuna vilokahu deho jo bharamagahu. Abnat kari karuna vilokahu deho jo bharamagahu. Yehi joni janumai karma bhatataga Rama pada anuragahu. Bhatataga Rama pada anuragahu. Abnat kari karuna vilokahu. Abnat kari karuna vilokahu dehu jo bharamagahu. Dehu jo bharamagahu. Abnat kari karuna vilokahu dehu jo bharamagahu. Yehi joni janamavu karma basataga Rama pada anuragahu. Now, my Lord, look upon me with compassion and grant the boon I ask. I don't want my body, I don't want my life. Since you are ready to give me a boon, give me this boon. In whatever species I am born, as a result of my past action and the karma left over, please allow me to be remaining devoted to your feet, O Rama. You may remember Andal said that, Etraikum Yel Berivikum Undanodu Utrome Yavom Umake Namachayivom Matrainam Kamangal Matru. Bali says the same thing. If there is a boon to ask, if there is a boon for you to give, let me be born again if I am forced to be born again, but with total devotion to your feet, O Rama. By including this final dialogue, Tulsi moves the reader from judging the method of the killing to celebrating the salvation of the soul for Vali. My argument hung by a thread when I said the fact of Rama offering to restore Vali's body and life in the end, that the compassionate Rama too may have felt very sad about his action of killing Vali from behind a tree. The judges seemed at that point convinced, although the winner of the prize, that is me, was not personally convinced as to how I did that argument and how I got the prize. Any day, what Rama did was right, as I said earlier about Dharma Shastra and the rationale. Coming back to the popular story and Nyaya enunciated by Acharyas for such an action by Rama, even Bhattadari reconfirms that as the righteous action was done by Rama. Let us see that further in many other Puranas and Subhashita. Bhagavan Krishna has declared many times, you may remember, Yastam dveshti samam dveshti yastamanu samamanu iti sankalpyatam buddhya sharirardam mamajjana. Those who offend my devotees are surely offending me. Those who honor them honor me certainly. Vali had always been troubling Sugriva, who was a devotee of Rama and was a progeny of the sun god, in whose rays, namely solar rays, Rama too was born. Therefore, it will only be appropriate to think that Rama considered Vali, who was Sugriva's enemy, as his own enemy. Vali had committed the heinous crime of abducting Sugriva's wife, although he knew that Sugriva married Tara after it was thought by everyone that Vali died in the battle with the demon as per the Shastras, the rule allowed in the Vanara lineage. He had also made many attempts to kill Sugriva. He had become what can then be termed an Atatayin or a desperado. Manusmriti says, Atatayinam ayantam hanyati eva vicharayan na atatayi vade devusho hantuhu bhavati kashana. An attacking desperado has to be killed without hesitation and no sin accrues to a slayer of that desperado. Vasishtha Smriti defines such a desperado. Agrato garadashiva shastrapanir danapaha kshetradara apakatocha shadete hi atatayinaha. Criminals guilty of the following 6 forms of crimes are classified as desperados: setting fire to a house or place of worship, administration of poison of an opponent, attempt to attack with a weapon in hand, robbing of wealth, dispossessing a rightful owner of his land or possession, and finally, abduction of a woman. These are serious crimes. Therefore, scholars argue that Vali committed many of the above, while even one of them would have totally justified the capital punishment that was meted out to him by Rama. Fine, it's all dissected as before, but how do one justify Rama, the omnipotent God, killing of a valorous king Vali from behind a tree and not giving an opportunity to face and fight? Forget about what is said earlier in Rama Caritam. Here, many opine that it is possible that Rama had in mind the very boon granted by Brahma, which bestowed upon Vali the power to absorb half the strength of anyone fighting him face to face. Even Rama, the god, cannot change the boon already given or the result that followed from the boon. It was because of knowing this fact that earlier Ravana, who wanted to kill Vali, decided to hide behind him when he was at his prayer at the seaside. That is how Ravana shot an arrow at Vali. Vali, who was aware of Ravana's intentions, let his tail loose, made it go around the unsuspecting Ravana, and deftly tied him up, keeping him as a captive for a long time and making him a plaything for his child Angada. Thus, there is no other way for anyone to even attempt to kill Vali or face to face meet him and then attempt to kill him again, and the only option was always from behind. Given the indestructibility due to the special boon, Rama's killing of Vali, hiding behind him, does not become an unrighteous act. On top of all of the above, Vali had an alliance with the Lord's sworn enemy Ravana, and he had kept quiet even after knowing about Sita's abduction. These had thrown Vali onto the opposite camp. As the Lord had made an alliance with Sugriva, the possibility of Vali joining hands with Ravana, who was already his ally, was all the higher. If that happened, the destruction of Ravana, the very purpose of incarnation of Rama, would have become more difficult, if not moot. Moreover, it would be necessary to kill Vali in the same fashion from behind at that time as well, as there were no exceptions to the boon that Brahma had granted to Vali. Bhagavane, after eliminating Vali, you crowned Sugriva as the king of Vanaras. By that time, the rainy season had started. As the season was not favorable, Sugriva thought it would not be prudent to venture in a war, particularly it will be an expedition not worth the while, and as suggested by him, you all spent the entire season in the vicinity of sage Matanga's hermitage, continuing to suffer the pangs of separation from Sita. Sadly enough, Sugriva showed his color. When he returned to the throne, he spent his time carousing and failed to act on his promise and holy contract to assist Rama in recovering his queen Sita. When Lakshmana was about to destroy Kishkinda, in anger, in retribution for Sugriva's perceived treachery and going against his own commitment, it was once again Tara, now the queen of Sugriva, plays the chief diplomat in pacifying and reconciling Rama with Sugriva. Tara's intelligence, presence of mind, courage, and devotion to her husband Vali are praised in several Puranas. She is even extolled as one of the Panchakanya, or 5 revered ladies, the repetition and praise of whose names is believed to dispel sin. In the next sloka, the search for Sita is described. Sugrivenanujogtya sabhayam abhiyatam yogitam vahininta Vrikshanam viksha dikshudrutamagagayita marganaya manam ram sandesham changuriyam pavanasutakare pradisho modashani marge mamarge kamiliravidadat vatpriya saprayasaihi sandesham changuriyam pavanasutakare pradisho modashani marge mamarge marge kabibhiravidada tvatriya saprayasaihi tvatriya saprayasaihi. Sugrivena anujoktya sabayam abhiyata vyugitam vahinim ta vrikshanam vikshadikshu drutamata dayita marganaya avanam ram. Sandesam changuliyam pavana sutagare pradisho modashali marge marge mamarge kabibiravitada tvatpriya saprayasaihi. Oh Bhagavane, even after the end of the rainy season, there was no sign of Sugriva fulfilling his words of searching for and finding Sita. Therefore, you sent Lakshmana to Kishkinda. Frightened by Lakshmana's admonition, Sugriva appeared in person before you. Soon, he marshaled a huge army of Vanaras to search for Sita in all quarters. The army stood in formation in front of you. You were delighted to see the army of Vanaras who had come eager to fulfill your order, saying, I shall find Sita. I shall find Sita. Standing with heads bowed in reverence, you gave your signet ring to Hanuman, son of the wind god, to prove his identity and also generate trust in Sita, living far off in the forest, held captive by Ravana, and also told Hanuman the message to be conveyed to her orally, which is a secret message only Sita would recognize and thereby give full credence to Hanuman. Kampan's depiction of conversation between Rama and Hanuman is stellar. Let's now see that. Keril Veera Neeyum Annavanarasukettradu Atrudi Arivil Endran. Keril Veera Neeyum Annavanarasukku Ettradu Atrudi Arivil Endran. அனதேயாக நீயும் அழகிய நம்பி ஏகி சொன்ன அந்நெறியின் மாற்றச் சுக்கிரீவர்க்கேற்ற நன்னய கருமமெல்லாம் நயந்தனின் அறிவினால் செய் என் உயிரனைய என்றான் இருநிலம் நிறைஞ்ச நின்றான். பேரெழில் வீரா, நீயும் அன்னவன் அரசுக்கு ஏற்றது ஆற்றுதி அறிவின் என்றான். After that, Rama looked at Hanuman and said, O warrior of great beauty, you too shall go and with your wisdom perform the duties that are necessary for Sugriva's reign. அன்னதே ஆக நீயும் அழகிய நம்பி ஏகி சொன்ன அந்நெறியன் ஆற்ற சுக்ரீவருக்கு ஏற்ற நல் நயக் கருமமெல்லாம் நயந்தனின் அறிவினால் செய் என் உயிர் அணையாய் என்றான் இருநிலம் இறைஞ்ச நின்றான். அழகிய நம்பி is a beautiful phrase. Nambi usually refers to a perfect man or a leader. By calling him அழகிய நம்பி, Kamban reinforces the Sundara aspect repeated in the epic. Sundara is beautiful. That's why we have Sundara Kandam dedicated to Hanuman, all referring to Hanuman. Nayandanin Arivinal. Rama does not just say use your brain. He refers to Hanuman's refined, strategic and benevolent wisdom. It implies that Hanuman possesses the emotional intelligence to handle Sugriva and the intellectual capacity to handle the kingdom as well. En Uyir Anayai. This is perhaps the most touching part, highly emotional. Rama tells Hanuman, you are like my own soul, my life. It elevates Hanuman from a devotee or a messenger to a part of Rama himself. Maruti responds by saying to Rama that he will be his servant eternally. பொய்த்தலில் உள்ளத்து அன்பு பொழிகின்ற புணர்ச்சியானும் இத்தலையிருந்து நாயேன் ஏயினை எனக்கு தக்க கை தொழில் செய்வேன் என்று பொய்த்தலில் உள்ள தன்பு பொழிகின்ற புணர்ச்சியானும் இத்தலையிருந்து நாயேன் ஏயினை எனக்கு தக்க கை தொழில் செய்வேன் என்று கடலினை வணங்கும் காலை மேய்த்தலை நின்ற வீரன் மேய்த்தலை நின்ற வீரன் யூரை விளம்பி விட்டான் இவ்வுரை விளம்பிவிட்டார். பொய்த்தலில் உள்ளத்து அன்பு பொழிகின்ற புணர்ச்சியானும் இத்தலையிருந்து நாயேன் ஏயின எனக்கு தக்க கைத்தொழில் செய்வேன் என்று கழல் இணை வணங்கும் காலை மெய்த்தலை நின்ற வீரன் இவ்வுரை விளம்பி விட்டான். That single செய்யுள் as from Hanuman highlights his exceptional qualities as the ideal devotee and servant. Purity of heart. The phrase heart free from deceit emphasizes Hanuman's inner cleanliness. Loving bond is described as a friend whose affection poured forth, showing his deep emotional connection to Rama. Supreme humility. By calling himself Nayen or dog-like, Hanuman displays absolute surrender and egoless devotion. ஏயின எனக்கு தக்க கைத்தொழில் செய்வேன். Service and obedience. Whatever tasks are assigned to me, O Rama, I will do it right away. Reflects Hanuman's readiness to follow orders without any question. ஏயின எனக்கு தக்க, chores suited to my strength, shows his willingness to perform even the smallest manual chores, கைத்தொழில், for his master. Supporting context mentioned elsewhere by Kampanar, Jambavan's praise. Jambavan identifies Hanuman as one established in justice and dharma, uncomposed of truth. Jambavan rarely gives this kind of a compliment to anyone. He tells Hanuman is one who is soaked in dharma, in justice, and is nothing but a personification, composition of truth. Sita's recognition. She addresses him as one who consistently follows the truth. This is Sita's words about Hanuman. The philosophy of service. The text suggests that there is no greater power or energy than the dedicated service of a servant to a worthy master. The exceptional one is Hanuman's absolute saranagati and servitude to Sri Rama. With high regard towards you and being mortally afraid of Sugriva's orders, Sugrivagnya, the army of Vanaras immediately rushed in all directions with great difficulty in search of your beloved. In the next slokam, the entire Sundara Kandam has been skillfully described by Narayana-Bhattadiri. The term Sugrivagnya came to get its proverbial meaning as a command to be implicitly obeyed, deserving capital punishment for any disobedience on account of the mortal fear Sugriva had of Lakshmana, and which he used it as a threat to the Vanaras for instilling discipline. Tadvarta Akarnan Tadvarta Akarnan Ujjaggar Gurujava Sampati Tadvarta Akarnan Ujjaggar Gurujava Sampati Sampati Vakya Protirna Arnodihi Antarnagari Janakajam Viksha Datvanguliyo Sampadi Vakya Protirna Arnodihi Antarnagari Janakajam Viksha Datvanguliyo Prakshudya Budyanam Akshakshavana Chanarana Shodabando Dashasyo Tritva Plitva Chalankam Jaditi Hanuman Mauniratnam Dadaute Tritva Plitva Chalankam Jaditi Hanuman Mauniratnam Dadaute Mauniratnam Dadaute Mauniratnam Dadaute. Tadvartaha Akarnan Mudjat Garut Urujava Sampati Sampati Vakya Protirna Arnodihi Antarnagari Janakajam Vikshya Datvanguliyam Prakshudya Udyanam Akshakshapana Chana Rana Sodabando Dasashyam Drishtva Plushtva Chalankam Jatitisa Hanuman Mauliratnam Dadaute. On hearing your account, O Bhagavane, Anguished at their inability to find Sita anywhere, the Vanara army that reached southern seashore began to fast unto death. Seeing them in that pitiable state, the vulture Sampati by name, who was an elder brother of Jatayu, slowly came near them, common for vultures, in the hope of eating them when they died. This vulture had its wings burnt by sun's rays long ago when he had attempted to protect his younger brother Jatayu from the scorching sun during a flying competition between them. When he came near the Vanaras, they were relating among themselves the account of your incarnation. On hearing your holy account, the vulture Sampati's burnt wings were completely restored to their original state. Your very account was so holy that it had the cure. Delighted at this, Sampati went nearer to the Vanaras when he heard them praising his brother Jatayu as follows. All the Vanaras were saying, Jatayu is the most fortunate one because he died fighting courageously for Rama's cause. He gave his life for Rama. He was greatly saddened at this news. Sampati realized his brother is no longer there, but he was also so elated about the greatness of his brother. On further inquiry with the Vanaras, Sampati got all the information that happened up to the point. As he was able to fly now, having got his wings absolutely back in full energy, Sampati soared into the sky and from up above saw with his powerful eyes Sita confined in Ashokavanam in Lanka. He told this to the Vanaras. Coming back, Sampati says, I saw Sita. Hence the proverbial usage, eagle's eyes, metaphor for exceptionally keen vision, intense observation, or high vigilance, referencing the ability of eagles to spot the smallest objects from miles and miles away. Trusting Sampati's words, a great Vanara Hanuman, who had become enthused by Jambavan's clear praise of his great strength and the power and earlier exploits, jumped across the sea of 100 yojanas, roughly about 800 miles or 1400 kilometers. That is the width of that sea, to reach Lanka. He located Sita in the Ashokavanam within a night and gave her the signet ring given by you and received from her crest jewel. After that, to make it known to the Rakshasas that a messenger from you had come to Lanka, Hanuman destroyed the Ashokavanam. Hanuman then killed Akshakumara, son of Ravana, in a fight when he came to capture him and kill him. Then Indrajit, elder brother of Akshakumara, furious at Hanuman's actions, bound him by Brahmasra. Though it was easy for Hanuman to have loosened it so casually, because of an earlier boon given to him by Brahma himself, Hanuman acted as though he was very weak, like any other weak Vanara bound by Brahmasra would, so as to get an opportunity to see the king of the Rakshasas, Ravana himself. When he was brought to the presence of Ravana, O Rama, Hanuman appraised Ravana about your entire history. He praised your greatness to him and advised Ravana that by abducting Sita, O Ravana, you have been playing with fire and you subjected yourself to the wrath of Rama. You would never be able to stand his wrath. So the cruel Ravana was infuriated by such admonition, and as a substitute for death, Ravana ordered his Rakshasas to set fire to Hanuman in captivity, especially Hanuman's tail. Since the tail being the most cherished part of a Vanara, as it was also pointed out by Vibhishana that killing Hanuman the messenger, which Ravana wanted to do so anyway, was totally unethical and unrighteous act in Dharma. Using the same fire, Hanuman burnt down the entire Lanka. After that, Hanuman returned to Kishkinda along with the crest jewel sent by Sita as a memento and submitted the same to you. While in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Sundara Kandam story is told just in one line, by mentioning Sakyam Vidaya Kabibihi Daitagatim Taihi. In other words, after making friends with the monkey chiefs, killing Vali and arranging for deliverance of Mother Sita, Rama went to the beach of the ocean. Dadvatmakritya sadakrityam mahankabandam Dadvatmakritya sadakrityam mahankabandam Sakyam vidaya kabibihi Sakyam vidaya kabibihi Daitagatum taihi Budvata valinihate plavakendra sannaihi Budvata valinihate plavakendra sannaihi Velamagat samanujo ajabavarchitangrihi Velamagat samanujo ajabavarchitangrihi Dadvatmakritya hatakrityam ahan kabandam Sakyam vidaya kavibihi daitagatim taihi Budvata valini hate plavagendra sainyaihi Velagamat samanujo ajabavarchidangri. The author of Narayaneeyam, however, is more generous and of course with great skill, lot more in one sloka. There are two legends connected with this sloka. When the author was about to complete the slokam and had reached up to Mauli Ratnam Dadau and suddenly stopped, groping for a one-syllable word to complete the slokam, the Lord became impatient and GuruBhakti shouted from the sanctum, asked from that place, to whom? And the poet completed the sloka by saying, Te, meaning you. Mauli Ratnam Dadau Te, meaning to you. Another story was that when the author was completing the sloka with Mauli Ratnam Dadau Te, a question was heard as asariri from the sanctum of the temple. Take it. Where is it? The next major event is the most talked about Vibhishana Sharanagati, and we will take that up in the next session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. Om GuruBhakti. Narayana 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 Narayana